Every day, you and I use appliances or gadgets that have to be turned on in order to perform their function. I mean, this doesn't really have a switch. Probably a bad example, but technology is great, right? As long as it's powered up and in the on position. But in nature, it's a different story. Take the tomato plant. A fruit growing. Ow. Beedle-de-boo. Now, there's no on switch for this thing that makes it start growing tomatoes. In fact, growing tomatoes is what it just naturally does. And if it doesn't grow tomatoes, then it's either one, not a tomato plant, or two, it needs to get ripped out of the garden and replaced with something that'll actually produce what it's supposed to produce. Now, let's talk about you and me. If we consider ourselves Christ followers, then we are what is called kingdom workers. And here's the truth. There's no on switch for kingdom work. It's not just something you flip on when you go on a mission trip or a service project or a Bible study. Hear me. These are good things, godly things even. But we're missing the point if we think kingdom work is something we just clock in for and then clock back out of. Because kingdom work is a lifestyle. On the night before Jesus is crucified, he gathers all his disciples together in a room, and he has one last conversation with them. And in that discussion, he says this: I am the true grapevine, and my Father is the gardener. He cuts off every branch of mine that doesn't produce fruit, and he prunes the branches that do bear fruit, so they will produce even more. You have already been pruned and purified by the message I have given you. Remain in me, and I will remain in you. For a branch cannot produce fruit if it is severed from the vine, and you cannot be fruitful unless you remain in me. Yes, I am the vine. You are the branches. Those who remain in me and I in them will produce much fruit. For apart from me, you can do nothing. Anyone who does not remain in me is thrown away like a useless branch and withers. Such branches are gathered into a pile to be burned. But if you remain in me, and my words remain in you, you may ask for anything you want, and it will be granted. When you produce much fruit, you are my true disciples, and this brings great glory to my Father. So here, Jesus uses his last precious minutes to set up a metaphor. He says, picture me as a vine full of life and strength. If you are one of my followers, you are like a branch that actually grows from me. Now, any branch that chooses to stay connected to me by placing their purpose and their meaning in me will actually bear fruit. Jesus is saying that they won't just be alive, they will produce life. But any branch or follower that chooses to disconnect themselves from Jesus by saying, you know what, I'm tired of that old vine. I'm tired of being held back. I want to go do my own thing. Well, they won't be good for much else than just getting thrown out in the trash. You see, Jesus is saying there's no on switch, there's no off switch. Your life must be so connected to mine, so enmeshed with mine, that your whole existence is about drawing from my power and bearing my fruit. It was my daughter's birthday, and I was bound and determined to be the best father in the neighborhood. So my wife and I started getting the party stuff together. We had activities to construct and decorations to hang. Her birthday's in late November, so we had to rake the yard, and I also wanted to put a Christmas tree up, so there was that perfect holiday atmosphere.
Ho, ho, ho!
Needless to say, there was plenty to do, and the guests were going to be getting here soon. So, that afternoon, the whole family's loaded into the car, and we are zooming across town with a Christmas tree strapped to the roof. We're like 1 block away from our house, and that's when we see her. And that is when my wife turned to me and she said,
"Oh, Taylor, we should..."
Now, hold on a second. This is where I want to remind you that you are commanded by Jesus to love me and forgive me for whatever I'm about to do for the rest of this story. Okay, so my wife looks at me and she says,
"Oh, Taylor, we should stop..."
"She's fine." I said, "She's fine? What is wrong with me?" And then I quickly try to justify. It's not like she's homeless or anything. And I'm trying to put together a party for our little girl, and she may not even want our help. Why do we always assume old people want us to stop and help them? It could be just very awkward as well. And that's when I realized my wife is looking at me with a look I can only imagine war criminals get when they're on trial. Then my wife drops this little bomb.
Okay, fine. I'll just go do it.
Fine, I'll go rake her yard. So I see her in the front yard, I park, I storm up to her, and then I say, "Hi, I'm Taylor. Can I help you?" And so I helped her rake her yard. And she was very thankful. And I found out that her husband was legally blind. So my heart was softening a little. And as I looked around, I saw that her grass needed to be mowed as well. So out of the kindness of my heart, I said, "Hey, if you ever need me to mow your yard, I'd be happy to do that for you." Thank you. I am a kingdom worker.
Well, thank you. And I have 2 ladies from the church that's already mowing the yard for me.
She continues, "I was mowing my grass one day." That's right, this 87-year-old lady mowed her own grass. "And they saw me. When they saw me, they slammed on their brakes, got out of their car. They yelled at me, 'You stop that right now.' They came and grabbed the lawnmower and mowed my whole yard for me, and now they come once a week and take care of it."
So I don't have to do that anymore. But thank you for your offer.
You're welcome. They slammed the brakes. I left her to her own devices. She's fine. They met her needs. I had a barrier between me and Jesus. They got to participate fully with Jesus. I robbed myself of that opportunity. They were the ones living life to the full. That day, I realized something scary about myself. Kingdom work was not my lifestyle. It was my job. as a preacher. It was even my creative outlet in how I wrote sermons. But when it came to my everyday, just normal life, I did not live like Jesus. There was something seriously wrong with my heart. Jesus makes it pretty clear. If we are his followers, then we will regularly be asking him to connect our heart to his heart, making his desires our desires, his will our will. And as he answers this prayer, your life will begin to produce his fruit. And what does producing his fruit look like? It looks like having an impact on someone else's life by loving them the way he loves you. So, what do you do with all this? Does this video end and then you run out your front door looking for a little old lady to help? That's an option. But here's a better response. Get on your knees and pray. Father, please give me your Holy Spirit. Please break my heart for what breaks yours, and connect me to the vine. Don't be the one who says she's fine. There's no fruit there. Be the one who slams the brakes. But to become that person, you have to realize that kingdom work isn't something you just turn on or off. It's not even something that you just go do. Kingdom work is a lifestyle.